Rates are up, rates are down. Stock market's up, stock market's down. The election's over. There is chaos. It seems to be everywhere. You might be wondering, is the housing market going to crash? Is now the right time to buy? I'm going to answer your questions in detail for the next few minutes. You'll understand what the market crash was, the old housing crash, where the market's heading now, and why you should or should not look at buying now. So before we get into talking about is the housing market going to crash? What's going to happen? Everything else. Let's talk about what the housing market is just in general. The market is this. There are buyers and there are sellers. It's simple economics. More buyers, more sellers. There is inventory. The inventory are the houses. And how many houses out there? How many buyers? How many sellers? Prices go up, prices go down. That's the market. A balanced market is when you have a similar number of buyers and sellers. Markets get unbalanced when you have too many sellers and not enough buyers. The opposite happens right now when you have too many buyers and not enough sellers. So let's talk about that. Too many buyers, not enough sellers. Guess what happens? The seller is at an advantage. The seller can sell their house at a premium and prices go up. Let's take the inverse of that. We have too many sellers and not enough buyers. So what happens? Margins come down. House prices come down. House prices continue to come down until buyers enter the market. The goal is to have a balanced market where you have a similar number of buyers and sellers. When you have a similar number of buyers and sellers, house prices will move up and down with inflation, with a little bit up and down. But when either one of these get inverse and go too much one way or the other, you'll see big moves up where you see big moves down. That's the housing market at a super high level in about 1 minute. So with over 25 years in the mortgage business and running one of the only companies in my whole area that stayed in business, not only to stay in business, we did well through 2008, 9, and 10 when the market completely crashed. The number of reasons why we were still able to make it through. The number one reason is we gave clients great advice. We put them in good mortgages and we set them for things in the long run, not the short run. Here's what happened in 2008 and 9. That same piece, there were too many houses entering the market.
There are fears the sell-off will continue on Wall Street.
Soaring gas prices, falling home prices, and rising unemployment.
There is an oversupply of inventory. There is a lot of fast money coming in. People buying rental properties, people buying multiple houses that weren't qualified to even buy one house, yet alone 2, 3, 4, or 5 houses. House prices shot up very rapidly and the music just stopped. A lot of supply, not a lot of high quality buyers out there. The bottom fell out. You can watch videos on this. You can watch movies. There have been books written in the whole thing, but a super high level, too much inventory, not enough qualified buyers. Bottom falls out. Houses, huge supply, not enough buyers. Prices come down, come down, come down, come down, come down. Buyers start to re-enter. Market stabilizes over an extended period of time. So this last housing crisis that really started, it popped or exploded if it's a volcano in 8, 9, 10. But so much had led up to this. So many poor quality loans, poor quality borrowers, poor underwriting standards, Wall Street greed, mortgage-backed securities, all these other crazy things led up to it. Lack of regulation. All this led up to the eruption started in 2008 and really almost brought down the U.S. economy and actually the world economy over the next several years. That's it. Sums up right now. Let's talk about why right now in this period of time is different as we talk about the question, is there going to be the next housing crash? The thing that I like to start with is this. Supply and demand that we started talking with. There are not enough homes in the United States right now. And this is most parts of the country. We'll talk about some different segments and some different areas in a couple minutes. But right now in the majority of the country, there are not enough homes built for our current population. Well, why is that? I can tell you one of the big reasons why is coming out of that Great Recession we just talked about. a lot of builders got run out of the business. A lot of tradespeople got run out of the business. People in big companies and even small builders stopped building homes over an extended period of time. For that period from 2009 through 2000 and probably 18, 19, maybe 17, 16, there's this 5, 6, 7 year period that there weren't many homes built. So we as a country have underbuilt homes. If we don't have enough homes, we go back to the supply and demand side. We do not have enough supply. If there's not enough supply, guess what happens? Prices start going up. So prices are going up and they're going to continue to go up. I think we are years away from the supply getting caught up. When you see national news stories, when I talk about housing market in general and is it going to crash and what's going to happen, I look at it a lot like politics. Politics is very local. Like there's national things, but really those local politics that really affect you. Very much the same with real estate. It's a local market. I saw an article recently on Austin, Texas. And Austin, Texas, house prices are coming down in Austin, Texas. House prices are down 5%. Oh my gosh, the sky is falling. The prices are falling in Austin, Texas. This is one market. And if you took a look at this market has some of the biggest national publicly traded builders building houses as fast as they can in a really big market, very robust market, lots of jobs, lots of growth, lots of everything. Everyone's going there, they're building houses as fast as they can. Well, guess what happened? The supply caught up with demand. The supply started to exceed demand. So what happens? Prices start coming down. Do they come down to where they were 5 years ago or 3 years ago or 10 years ago? No, they probably came back to where they were 6 months ago or 12 months ago. That's a balanced market. Most of the country does not have a balanced market. If you don't have a balanced market, you're going to continue to have prices continue to rise. Let me give you another reason why right now we are not going to see a crash like we saw in 2008. These loans in the current mortgages that have been given since the Great Recession for the better part of the last 10 plus years, very high underwriting standards. The people that are buying these homes are well qualified. They have credits, they have standards. We are in a very heavily regulated industry these days. The mortgage industry was not what led up to the 2008 Great Recession. We are in a highly regulated business these days. Those grittier loans of people that weren't qualified, they just aren't there. So we've got a better foundation we built on is the first piece right there. So in spite of the fact that prices keep going up because of supply, there's another thing to consider. Interest rates are high right now. When I say high, we look at a historical period of time over 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Interest rates aren't high, but they're significantly higher than they were over the last several years. In spite of high interest rates, we still have a bunch of buyers in the market, more buyers than sellers, which continue to drive prices up. What do you think is going to happen when interest rates start coming down? I can tell you my very strong opinion of what's going to happen. When interest rates come down, the affordability goes up. People can afford to buy a bigger house, a more expensive house. So again, interest rates come down, buyers can afford to pay more. That's going to further push prices up. Each market in the country is different. I feel really good about the core markets in the country that I work in, and I know this data. And my degree of confidence is very certain that we're not going to see a major housing correction or see another big crash. But what if I'm wrong? What if in other parts of the country that something like that would come? What would it look like? First piece is we would stop seeing house prices increase. I talked about Austin, Texas earlier. Suddenly Austin, Texas stopped increasing. And this is at the moment in time I did it. For all I know, it's turned back around and prices are going back up. But house prices will come down to a point that buyers enter. Again, the piece is, are the buyers sitting on the sideline in your particular market? Are there people waiting? Are there people waiting to get in? People waiting to buy? Prices will come down until a buyer enters the market. Now, as prices come down, buyers may start getting nervous and buyers say, well, geez, that house is worth 5% less than it was 6 months ago. I'm going to wait for it to come down another 5%, and buyers start to leave the market. So if buyers leave the market as prices come down, there's no buyers, prices will continue to come down. If a scenario like this happens where suddenly there's something unexpected lenders will come in and tighten guidelines, and they'll go back and look at the loans that they issued over this last period of time and say, did we miss something? Were underwriting standards too liberal? Did we allow people to use too much of their discretionary income to buy housing? Standards for lending will be reviewed. At some point, they'll potentially be modified for future buyers. That modification will likely come years later because the government wants to get that housing market stabilized, but eventually guidelines can and probably would change. Probably the biggest tell-all that you'll see in different parts of the country are foreclosures rising. So when I talk about that seller and buyer, I use it as a random person, just a seller, like some big builder building all these houses and they can't sell, so they're going to keep bringing things down. Well, you know what? That seller isn't just some big builder. The seller is someone that owns a home. It's a family that owns a home potentially, and they need to sell for some reason. If they can't sell and they can't get out of that house, or they get behind on payments and they can't afford the home anymore because of economic circumstances and there's no buyer to come in and buy that house, it leads to foreclosures. If we see foreclosures increase, that'll be another sign that things are changing in the market. A foreclosure most likely happens when a seller can't sell their house, because most people don't want them to go into foreclosure. And if they can't afford a home anymore and they have some equity in it, guess what? They want to sell their house to that buyer and take the equity. If they can't sell their house, that's something that could potentially lead to foreclosures. So we see foreclosures starting to rise. That's an indication that things could be turning. Generally speaking, in foreclosures, there's a variety of reasons for foreclosures. Foreclosures don't necessarily mean a great recession is happening or something catastrophic is happening. Many buyers buy with very little down payment. And if you buy with very little down payment when you buy a house, and you have a life circumstance, a loss of a job, a loss of a loved one, loss of income, loss of something that you can't make that mortgage payment, but you didn't put that much money down to buy the house. By the time you sell and pay taxes and real estate commissions, everything else, there's no profit, there's no margin in that house. So a seller would have to potentially short sell, meaning they would sell the house for less than what they owed the financial institution. And if they couldn't short sell or they couldn't come to terms, they may foreclose. Or if they didn't work with the bank to figure things out, they just went dark, they stopped returning phone calls, they knew they were in a bad spot, they eventually got foreclosed on. So foreclosures don't always mean the market's in a free fall, there's a crash. Life happens, there are always foreclosures in any market, good and bad. Again, I can't express enough, or hopefully I've expressed enough on how I don't feel this is anywhere where the market's headed. And I'll tell you something, you want to know, well, hey, what does this guy know? I'm going to tell you right now, back in 2008, 9, and 7, and 6, I literally had commented, I don't know if I would want to lend that guy money to put in the parking meter out front and he's buying a house. Standards got so loose and so fast and loose. It was unbelievable. And those things led to the crisis. I just don't see any of those things right now. In addition to the tight underwriting standards, is a lack of supply. I don't see those things happening, but different markets, different areas, something could be, a black swan event could happen, but very unlikely in my professional opinion. So for you, how do you protect yourself against getting into a situation that you could be upside down on a house or not afford it or get into a really bad spot? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a couple pointers I talk to clients about when buying a house. Number one, buying a house is kind of like buying a stock. I look at this. When I buy stocks, I want to buy it and I want to hold it for a period of time. I don't want to get in and out. I'm not day trading. I want to buy something. I want to own it for an extended period of time. I can tell you with home ownership, if you're in a spot, you're going to buy and hold. You're going to buy and you see yourself living there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Home ownership, in most cases, in my career, personally, and the people I worked with, when you're going to be in a spot for several years, home ownership in most markets over time ends up being a very good proposition. If you're only going to be there for a short period of time, maybe owning isn't right for you. So a second piece in protecting yourself in any market is making sure you can afford your payment. I've said in previous videos that one of my first questions anytime I'm working with someone is, what is your comfort level for a monthly payment? I want someone to ultimately be in a payment that they're comfortable with, not up to their eyeballs in the maximum amount they can afford. So looking at it long term and looking at where you're at and getting into a house that you can afford when you look at the other expenses in your life. I would also qualify this. If there's ever anything to stretch on a little bit, not up to your eyeballs, it's an appreciating asset and it's a house. And a lot of times that house payment feels really heavy in the early years. A couple years later, if your income continues to go up, you get comfortable in the house, you watch the equity build, it ends up being a very good investment. But generally speaking, you want to be in a spot that you're comfortable with the monthly payment. If you're not in a family budget, I'd highly recommend it. I offer a free calculator below that shows you how to run your finances and manage your budget so you can see what you can truly afford. The unexpected happens. Having an emergency fund. I love to see clients with at least 2 months emergency fund. If it costs $4,000, $5,000 to run your household in a month, I'd love to see you have $10,000 set aside. It would be awesome if you had 6 months set aside, but a couple months is good. Have an emergency fund because life does happen. When we go back to the Great Recession, we didn't talk about this much. There were a bunch of junky mortgage products. To be honest with you, one of the reasons why we stayed in business, we didn't sell them. We help clients make good decisions. Make sure you're in a good program, in a good 30-year fixed rate mortgage, 20-year fixed rate mortgage, 15-year fixed rate mortgage. There's not a lot of variety out there like there used to be, but a good sound mortgage that stands the test of time will serve you well. It's so important to work with a professional that shoots you straight. I do work throughout the United States, and if you're looking for someone that's going to look out for your best interests, we'd love the opportunity. Hey, we covered a lot of information. I hope you feel a little bit smarter about the housing crisis, where the market's now. You obviously heard where I think the market's going. Appreciate you watching. Hope to see you soon. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.